Terry Austen and Chris Claremont's run on the X-Men. And this is a collection that I had previously some years ago, but I've been slowly rebuilding that collection again. And I just thought it would be nice just to come on board, especially since John Byrne has this new publication, which has been out now this last month or over a month, and it's X-Men Elsewhere. And this is the first print edition of this collection. So it would be nice to go back to the beginning again and just have a look at this legendary run. And let's see, where am I going to start? Well, the first one I'm going to start off with I'll start off with these two. First of all, we have X-Men number 101. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is, number one, it's the Pence variant, and number two, it's the first appearance of Phoenix, Jean Grey and Phoenix. And the reason why it's not John Byrne, it's Dave Cockrum, of course, and Chris Claremont. But the reason why I'm making reference to this comic is that its association with Ireland, that after Jean becomes the Phoenix and ends up then in hospital, and Scott and the X-Men are with her, Professor Xavier decides that they need some time away, and with that they head over to Ireland. There's Aer Lingus, an old-fashioned train, a bumpy ride in the car out to Cassidy Keep in County Mayo for Sean Cassidy and Banshee. And I always thought, I picked this up, what year was this? This was in 1976, so I was a very young kid back then when I picked this up, but I bought this in a comic shop, not a comic shop, I bought this in a shop in I think it was Bundoran. So this was way back. I was about 8 years of age, I think, when I picked up this copy. And this is a copy that managed to survive and stay in my house at home. So it travelled with me from my childhood, but it was always had a closeness to me because of its association with Ireland. And look, there's Cassidy Keep there. That's the home of Sean Cassidy. And of course then we're introduced to the Juggernaut and Black Thomas and all these people, but Sean Cassidy's brother. But this just it's interesting just to see the X-Men having a holiday, and especially in Ireland, so that's pretty cool. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah, the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. The reference to Black Tom Cassidy is that there is an idea that during the Spanish Armada, a lot of Spanish were shipwrecked off the coast of Ireland, and so there is what we call like Irish who are dark featured, so they would come from that part of history in that part of the world. But there they all are, look. So there's that. This is a great comic to have, first appearance of Phoenix, Dave Cockrum. So I'm just mentioning this for nostalgic sake. And also, as well as that, I have my very own copy of X-Men number 108, and this is another comic that's travelled with me from my childhood. And this comic is really beat up. I don't know what grade, it's torn, there's pages missing. But this was 1977, so I think I was like 7 years of age or something when I got my hands on this comic, or 8 years of age. And this, of course, is a pivotal key comic because why? It is the first time that John Byrne takes over his run on the X-Men, which later, as you well know, will become a legendary run. But that's my, this is my childhood copy. Since then, I've upgraded to a better copy, and there's the better copy there. And I just want to point out that in the early runs, obviously this is the United States run because you've got this green band here, But in this one, you've got a yellow band, and the pence has been scored out. So, but this was a pence copy. So for the first couple of early issues, there was just a difference there in the band, and there's some writing from my childhood. I was good at English, and I was good at writing and all that stuff. So, yeah. But anyway, look, that's my childhood copy there of X-Men 108, which is the first John Byrne taking on the reins, stepping up from Dave Cockrum, and giving us this legendary run. And yeah, so I'm just going to quickly just bring this here. I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone's enjoying the summer. I hope you're having a good time. Really nice weather here at the moment in Ireland. Really enjoying it. So that's number one. Other thing I want to show you is this is a UK publication, and these are the publications that I would have been picking up back in the day. There's no cover to this, but this is a pivotal comic for me because this was I think this was the first time I ever got to read a full X-Men comic. I think this came afterwards, but initially I think this was the first X-Men comic that I got, and it's To Save the Savage Land. And then there's three comics in one in this. You've got the X-Men, the Thing, and then Luke Cage. But this was X-Men, and that is number, I'll tell you now, that's X-Men number 116. So it was a black and white copy of this one, of X-Men 116. So I just want to have a little look at this. So Rampage was a magazine that ran, and it had different titles at different times. But during this run, this was the John Byrne, Terry Austen, Chris Claremont run, and it's from 1977. And I can remember distinctly getting my hands on this, and I just devoured this copy. So the fact that it's still standing and that it's still in the condition it is after all these years is pretty impressive. So it was just black and white, but the only difference is that the pages, okay, they weren't colour, but the pages were all that bigger. They were just that little bit bigger than the US edition, but obviously they were black and white, not colour. So for a long time, I did not know the colour of some of the costumes that X-Men had, or the Avengers, or you wouldn't know unless the only colour was in the front cover, and that's all you had, because let's face it, there was no internet back in the day, so it was just, you just had to use your imagination. Okay, so I just thought that would be, because I've mentioned this before, I've mentioned the UK publication, so it's just nice to be able to show. So that's it. Sans the cover, which is gone. There's an advertisement there for Captain America. So Captain America had Captain America and Dazzler. So they were both running together in the same title. So they were really trying to push Dazzler back then. Now, let's see what I can produce now. So, of course, the first time John Byrne ever drew the X-Men was in Marvel Team Up number 53. And if you check out some of my videos on my channel, you'll find I've done a video on this particular comic. But this is early John Byrne. And this was his first, I think, issue on Marvel Team Up. And this had the Incredible Hulk and Wood God. And yeah. But what's what's pivotal about this comic is that it has John Byrne's first artwork on the X-Men, and there they are. And Jean Grey as Phoenix. And another interesting observation is that you've got the Dave Cockburn faces. You know, so it hasn't been Byrnified yet, but yeah, Banshee has a kind of a, he's got a hairdo there going on, flying about the place. But anyway, it's just interesting that this is where we get a first look at the X-Men: Banshee, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Jean Grey, Phoenix, Cyclops, Professor X. They're all there. Storm. Well, it's a pretty cool comic to have, and yeah. So you can see there the early days. Look, Cyclops. You know, by the time John Byrne would go on to do the X-Men, his artwork would have been elevated, evolved to like fantastic status. So that's the first artwork I think you see of John Byrne doing the X-Men, and then this is, and that's from this is from 1977, and this here is from 1977 also, and this is Iron Fist number 15. So this is the final issue that John Byrne did of Iron Fist. And look, there's Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, and Nightcrawler. So this is just more of John Byrne doing artwork on the X-Men before he starts his run on the X-Men. And this run on Iron Fist is a great run. And yeah, you can see Wolverine, early Wolverine here. He's got his orange and black costume, or brown and black, or whatever color that is. And yeah, and everybody's here again. Banshee's here, Nightcrawler. Just nobody draws Storm like John Byrne, and up there's early Storm there. Absolutely fantastic. There you go. Banshee's hair is a wee bit more tame. It's not as wide as it was in Marvel Team Up. So that's Iron Fist number 15. And then, of course, everything kicks off with when he takes over with 108. And this is a fantastic first off issue by John Byrne, and right off the bat it's just the magic is there between Chris Claremont, Terry Austen and John Byrne. Just the artwork is absolutely fantastic. Beautiful artwork there by Byrne. And this is like, we've got guest appearances here from the Starjammers. There's the Fantastic Four, there's the X-Men, there's the Beast, there's the Beast with the Avengers, there's the Fantastic Four, well, Reed Richards in the way, and there we have it. This issue is has the X-Men taken on Princess Alexandra's brother, who's the Emperor of the Shi'ar, and yeah, there's a lot going on here, but there's a lot of focus on Jean Grey, as her kind of Phoenix persona begins to manifest itself. So this was the early stages of Phoenix beginning to kind of gauge her power, and yeah, absolutely off the bat, John Byrne is just on a roll. Fantastic. How cool is that? Couple of spoilers for this comic, which is like, what, many years is old? Is this 40 something years old? We find out that the causer from the Starjammers is Scott Summers' father. So Chris Claremont, of course, loves the dynamics of as a writer and personalising the X-Men and their stories and everything. So this was the magic just being made. But this comic concludes with them all going back, transporting back to Earth, and Landra, she comes with them. So there you have it, and that's X-Men 108. What I'll do is I'll just have a look at a couple of other X-Men's that I have. This is a pretty impressive comic here, and this is 109, and of course it's covered with Dave Cockrum, and it's the first appearance, well, of Weapon Alpha, who would go on later to be Vindicator, and then would go on to become Guardian as the leader of Alpha Flight. So this is another great comic. And we're looking at 1977 again, but absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I've done a short in this, and it's just like, it just looks at the X-Men kind of having a day off. But even when they have a day off, there's always some kind of drama. And yeah, this is Jean Grey, and she's explaining to her parents that she is now the Phoenix. I said before, it's just Chris Claremont in his writing that there's Scott. Scott's quite broody and kind of insular, and really Nightcrawler kind of gives him a pep talk to tell him he's not the only person that has things going on. But then this is the whole idea of family of the X-Men, and kind of the joining together of them as a group. And here he is. Look at that, folks. First appearance. John Byrne. Weapon Alpha. Fantastic. But actually, I'm just going to go back here. There he is in the shadows, actually. That's his first appearance, as you can see here. Look at that. John Byrne. Maria McTaggart is there. She's in a relationship with Sean Cassidy, and yeah, they all are at the lake having a day off. And yeah, Weapon Alpha has been sent by the Canadian government to bring Wolverine back to Canada, as you do, but he doesn't want to go. So Weapon Alpha kind of underestimates the X-Men and suddenly finds himself way out of his league. So he hastes a hasty retreat. But then they would meet later on when the X-Men would find themselves trapped in Canada and come face to face with Alpha Flight. So this is, yeah, X-Men 109. How cool is this? And I don't want to rattle on too much, so I'm just going to do one more. But this is one of my favorites, and it's X-Men 111. And again, you've got the Cockrum cover, but this is just I don't know why, but this is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorites. I'm just going to see if I can show you. Look at that beautiful cover there. And at this stage, they were still the all new, all different X-Men. So I think it was issue 100 and yeah, it's 114. This is the first issue that they become the Uncanny X-Men. But up to then, they were the all new, all different. So yeah, this is a great comic. The artwork alone here is just fantastic. I mean, just look at that. So Hank McCoy, the Beast, gets a message from to the Avengers mansion, and he, instead of alerting the Avengers, decides to investigate this by himself. Hence, that's why he's there. And here he finds the X-Men all acting out of character, and they seem to be under some kind of somebody is under some kind of somebody's influence. So he's trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. Jean Grey is a trapeze artist, and Scott Summers is like he's like a security, a bouncer like type character, and Wolverine's in chains, like the Savage. So they're all kind of playing a role, but yeah, look, that the Beast gets knocked out by Colossus, who's a strong man. I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly, but hey, you know what? You just have to buy the comic and read it. But of course, they're all under somebody's powers, and who would it be but Memesmo? How cool is that? And at this stage, Wolverine hadn't reached the elevation of heights that he would rise to on this one with the X-Men. But the early days, you can just see how Byrne was starting to kind of center him out and kind of give him that personality. So here he is trying to snap Jean out of her trance, and so she becomes Phoenix again. So slowly but surely, they're beginning to get their memories back. But of course, Memesmo did all this, but he couldn't have done it by himself. So, like, who could be behind all this? Well, you know, and I know, it's none other but Magneto, the master of magnetism. And just how cool is this? Look at that artwork. This art, John Byrne, it's magic, absolute magic. So, yeah. So what I've done, I think I'm going to come back, I do another video or go live and continue on my run of the X-Men. What else? I'll just go through the covers that I have. 112, 113, 14, 15, 16, 18. There's a few I don't have, but I will have them soon. And I'm just going to finish with this one. And here we have, look, there's Weapon Alpha Vindicator back again. And that's Chaos in Canada. So there you have it. And just, oh yeah, one other thing I'm going to do. This is the X-Men Elsewhere. And this is the new publication by John Byrne, which kind of he picks up as artist and writer of how he would have written the story for the X-Men after he had finished his tenure as an artist. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'll just show you inside. Just going to show you. There's the back cover. You get the chance to get some John Byrne goodness. There's the flap sheets there, just introduction there by John Byrne. There's a picture of John, present day, and it's a really nice collection to have. There's been a lot of nice work put into this. And there's a signature. There's the front. Let's see, I'll just see if I can get a nice splash page for you nothing like the Sentinels. So there they are. So there's going to be 3 of these released, and this is number 1 of 3. So we have 2 more editions of these to come out, and this is just John Byrne. If you're watching this video, you don't need me to explain to you what the what this actually is, but it's just it's a real pleasure to get a publication like this, especially when John Byrne he didn't really have to do this, so I think we're really lucky to get it. Look at that, absolutely stunning artwork as usual by John Byrne. So there you have it. I just thought I would come on very quickly and do this little live, and I want to just say thanks for joining me for my live, and any like and subscription to my channel is always appreciated, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye.